Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to When This Shift Hits the Fan. My name is Mark Jeffrey, and I'm here with my gorgeous co-host, Linda Lehman. And tonight, the shift actually hit the fan here. Sorry for the folks on the line here tonight. We had a few technical difficulties, but we're ready to rock and roll. Last week, we were talking about stepping out of your comfort zone, becoming and designing a life that you really, really want to live. And, I know myself, Linda, that there are times in my life where I've devalued myself. And especially when I started speaking, and it was, how much would I charge for this? And I was thinking too little, and I was told, go ahead and charge $10,000. Really. And if somebody pays it, that's cool. If they don't, negotiate right from there. And I think we do that in our lives, in our relationships, and in our, careers that we choose, or particularly when we're working online, right? We just devalue ourselves, and I don't even know why. Linda, why do we think so little of ourselves? Why do we get in this headspace? It doesn't make any sense, but I find myself doing it, on a lot of different occasions where I have to step back and going, geez, why did you just say that? You're worth more than that.
Mhm. Exactly, Mark, and I think it really goes way back way back to our childhood. Somehow we've not ever given ourselves permission to step forward and to shine. We think it's almost as if we think, well, I need to let. It's almost like you have to let the other people have the last piece of pie because it's the polite thing to do.
Yeah, but
so you don't want to step out.
Yeah, but. Honestly, though, then what we're doing, right, by essentially by doing something like that, I guess that's where we get into a lot of trouble, right, Linda? We get into bad relationships, we don't get out of them. We're in bad jobs, we don't get out of them. We start an online business, and we are spending money month after month after month, and we're not getting the results that we anticipate, because I think I'm worth a lot. I just do. My inner self, I know inside, internally for me, I'm worth a lot. I think I'm worth a lot. But I still, on occasion, devalue myself. And I think it is when I'm into, I think for myself, speaking for myself, it's when I'm in a situation that I might be a little uncomfortable with. And that's why we're talking about this tonight.
I agree, Mark, and it goes back to us, I guess, feeling deserving. We are magnificent human beings, and we deserve the best of the best. But sometimes we start listening to that monkey chatter, and they're saying, well, just who do you think you are to believe that you can have this or you can be this? And this is especially true, Mark, when we're comparing ourselves to somebody else that we believe has it better than we do. And so then we start looking at all of the things that we admire in that other person, and then we start telling ourselves, well, I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have those guts. I don't have that ambition. I don't have, and even in some cases, I don't have that pedigree, that degree, if it's a job related, or even if you're just starting out, maybe you want to speak, but you don't have those college credentials behind your name, even though you've spent several years studying and you've been mentored and you've probably spent more time with your nose in the books learning than a lot of college students who just graduated. So I think that we get into this habit or this pattern where we're telling ourselves that we don't deserve it. And we've heard it and we've told ourselves this so much that we probably aren't even aware that that's what we're doing. We're just throwing other excuses at it try to justify and make ourselves feel better as to why we can't be as successful as Sally Joe over there.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? We keep coming around to deserve. And, I mean, almost I would think, Linda, in every show that we've done since we started, this comes up in our conversation. And because we're women, and as women, I think we do tend to put everybody else first, and always leave ourselves for last. Like you said, the last piece of pie, the last one to go to bed at night after the kitchen's clean. You know, all of these things, after everyone else is satisfied, then I will maybe have time for me. And of course, there is never enough time. And I think even if you have a boatload of confidence, if you create a pattern like that, like let's say, okay, let's give them a scenario, Linda. Let's say I am single and I date a lot. I have no problem getting dates. I go out lots. I have a great time. And then somewhere along the line, I actually find someone that I fall in love with and we get married. And all of a sudden, I'm not putting myself first. All of a sudden, I'm not going out on dates, you know, like even with my husband. Like, I'm not wearing the high heels. I'm not getting made up. I'm not looking after myself. I might not even be buying makeup anymore. You know, I might be running around the house in my sweats. Do you think that this has a correlation here? And I want to just follow through with this, is when you get comfortable with something, you know, do we let go? Or do we think we found what we deserved? Kind of like an oxymoron here, Linda, hey?
It is, Mark. And, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head. We get comfortable. We think, you know, we work so hard. And this work can be fun work. But we work so hard at striving, you know, when you're doing the scenario with a single person you're dating and you're on your game. And you're really striving to put your best foot forward. And so then when you have the man, you have the goal, which was the happy marriage. Now all of a sudden you say, oh, well, I can kick back and relax now. I don't have to try anymore. And unless you set another goal, and I'm not saying, well, okay, now I've got this guy, I can go after something else now. I'm saying, you know, how it might be okay, how do we improve this relationship? How do we make it even better than it currently is, and what does that better look like? You know, how do I keep the spark in it, and how do I keep, you know, surprises coming? Instead, so many people just kick back and say, okay, I don't have to try anymore. But unless you're striving for something bigger and better, which is our innate nature, is to always expand and grow, and unless you're doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you know, maybe you say that you're comfortable, but realistically, you're digressing, you're moving backwards because you're not moving forward, and that can put you in kind of a downward spiral, almost depression that you're not even recognizing, and thus the walking around in the sweats and not even buying makeup or not even caring to do your hair anymore or any of that. And, you know, that can be the same in even a job that maybe you wanted it and you got it. You set the goal, you worked really hard, you strived really hard to get it, now you get it, and now you're complacent. And now all of a sudden not so fun things are happening, and you don't know why.
Yeah, you betcha. And again, it comes back to, I think you always have to be asking yourself this, and telling yourself, I'm worth it, and what do I deserve? And we talked about this a little bit on the weekend about visualizing your life. We talked about last week that we want to give you some tools to work with here, and to, you know, get, like, it always ends up here. You get in a rut, or you start off in a hole, and you just can't get yourself out because you look up and it's, you know, 40 feet to get out of the hole, or the rut's got you pinned down and you can't get out of there. And that's the can't word keeps coming up. I can't do that. That's too far up. Oh, I could never do this. It's too hard. Or like you just said, Linda, it's for someone else. I don't deserve that. And yeah, bloody do, number one. I just, let's put that right out there. But let's talk about that, Linda. Where do they start? I mean, your back's against the wall, or you're too shy to step out of your shell, or where do they start, Linda? How do we get them going here again?
Well, first of all, as you just said, you bloody well deserve it. And so put that at the forefront of your mind. Pull out that imagination, because it's a wonderful, marvelous tool for you to use. Pull out the imagination and ask yourself, what do I really want? And give yourself permission to just think about even outrageous things, or things that you think are outrageous. Get a pen and paper and write it down. This is probably one of the most important steps that you can ever take, and it's the one that's missed by the majority of people out there, Mark. I know when I'm working with coaching clients, and they're telling me, they're throwing up their arms and they're saying, this stuff just doesn't work. I'm just so frustrated. It doesn't work. I'm still in the same spot I was before, and this is just a bunch of hooey. One of the first things I ask them is, well, what do you want, and did you write it down? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, oh, no, I've got it in my mind. I haven't written it down. And I say, well, before we go any further, go back and write it down. Mark, it's because when you start writing it down, number one, when you think about it and you start dreaming about it, it's in your conscious mind, and okay, that's step one. But when you're activating that connection between your mind and your hand, and you're putting it on a piece of paper, that intensifies your desire. It intensifies what you're wanting to go after, and you are getting involved with that. And when you write something down, I guess it's one of the really cool things about our education systems. When you're writing it down, you have to be more specific, because I know I was taught, and we've all been taught, that we have to spell out the sentence. We have to write it out to where it makes sense. And as you're writing down what you truly want, you're writing it down to make it make sense, not just a random word here and there on a piece of paper. And the more detailed that you can actually be, the brighter and the clearer this desire that you want, this, whatever it is, the relationship, the job, the business, it becomes clearer. And it starts becoming something that you can really wrap your arms around.
And that again, this is a really important step. And it's interesting, too, how if you go through this exercise, you might find, like if you start off, and just like we said, giving yourself permission to dream it. I don't think we ever really do that. I think it's, I wish I could have that house over there, but no, I'm never going to have it. You might say it, but you got the monkey chatter and the devil be damned right there saying, nope, that's not going to happen for you. And I get that. I honestly get that, because you don't have the tools to get there yet. If I look at, I'm driving down the street and I see this $50 million mansion or something like that. Like, I'm not getting one of those, but and I look at it and I say, man, I want that house, or, a Ferrari, I want that car, whatever it is. If right behind that, I went, ha ha ha, it's not real. So you know what? You start on that process of, I want a McMansion, and now, but that's not really realistic. But what do I want? That's the key here. I would like a 2,000 square foot, home, and I want 3 bedrooms, and I want 2 bathrooms, and design your life that way. I don't want to be working at 60 years old. I want to be retired. This is what my income will be. This is how I'm going to get it. Man, you could probably, on one single little thought process, on one little thing that you want, could probably fill a whole journal. By the time you get down to, how do I get it?
Mhm. And you know what? When you finally get down to the how can I get it, because you've been so open and you've really been detailed and specific on exactly what you want, first of all, if you begin this process and you already know how to get there, it's not a goal. It's not something that's going to stretch you. It's something that's on a to-do list that you already know how to do.
Exactly.
So you're not going to know how to get there. But when you get into this detail and you're very specific, and then when you're doing that, you're getting very emotionally involved with it. You're starting to get excited, right? You said, okay, I'm going to retire when I turn 60. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with this time? What adventures am I going to take? You're going to get really excited. You're starting this emotional process. And when you're focused on this, then, Mark, the house, the next step, the next step, and the next step on what you need to do to get there begin to come into your life. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to just sit down and put your feet up on the chair and magically all of this stuff is going to appear. But what's going to happen is you're going to have what I call inspired ideas, or you're going to have, just meet someone, and then you start talking, you converse with them, and then you realize that maybe they have something that will lead you to 10 steps closer to what it is that you're wanting. These random meetings with strangers are really a lot of fun. But Mark, it takes more work than that. People always hear, take action, take action, take action. Well, some of that action, Mark, isn't necessarily, working 12 or 16 hours every day, doing something. That's not necessarily the whole action. A very, very important piece, and we just touched on it when we talked about deciding what it is that you want, really using your imagination and deciding what you want. Once you decide that and you begin to write it down, then we want to invoke that imagination again, because, and we talked about this last week, you want to be the star of your own life. And I'm saying you want to build this movie, if you will, in your mind, but you need to carve out some time and be very relaxed and start building this picture of exactly what you want. And this is where it really helps to write it down in detail, because then you can visualize it, you can picture it in your mind a lot easier. But you put yourself in that picture, living this life. You are the star of this movie. You're also the director and the producer. You're not one of those extras singing the chorus, or one of those people in the movie theater watching the movie. No, you're in it. And let's just take the example of the house. Let's just say that you have this grandiose idea of the perfect house, 2,000 square feet, and it's 2 stories, and it's cherry hardwood floors throughout the house. And so put yourself in that house, walk past the mirror that you have hanging on the wall in that house, and look at your beautiful reflection in that mirror. And you're healthy, you're vibrant, and you're smiling, and you're so excited because you're in this house. And if you're going up, if it's 2 levels or 3 levels and you're going down the stairs, you better watch your step. Watch yourself as if you were really going down the stairs. Put yourself into that. Start touching things, and pull your senses into it. Touch some things that have different textures in your house, like maybe a nice, cool granite countertop, or wash your hands in the sink and smell the fragrant soap that you're using, and grab your spouse or your best friend by the hand and say, let me show you around my new house. Really get involved with this picture. Put it in there. And this is work. And way back when Wallace Wattles wrote a book, The Science of Getting Rich, And he said that true thinking is one of the hardest things that we as human beings will ever do. And this is the truth, because we have a lot of chatter going on in our head, but that's not, we call it thinking, but it's not thinking. True thinking is actually taking command and taking control of the direction that your thoughts are going. In doing this visualization exercise is one way that you do that, because you're taking control and you are maneuvering through your movie exactly the way you want to do it. It's not, okay, I'm going to start doing this, and, oh, no, wait a minute, I need to make this phone call, and then I'll come back to it. And, oh, wait a minute, I need to go transfer the laundry. No. You carve out this time. It's special time. Turn off the phone. Set a timer. If you're afraid that you're going to go, past 15 minutes or 30 minutes or something, you have to do something, set a timer. And that way you're not focused on, oh, I wonder how much time I've been spending with this. Just relax, carve out this time, jump into that picture, and folks, have some fun with it. Really get involved emotionally and feel it. And the cool thing is, Mark, and this has happened to me many times, is you'll be going through this vision in this picture, and then all of a sudden an idea comes to mind while you're in your movie, in this picture, and that idea is actually your intuition feeding you your next several steps on how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
This is when it becomes really fun, Mark.
It does, and it's if people understood or even took the time to, banish the limitations that you have in thinking that, okay, I'm not going to phrase this right, in thinking that when you're thinking of the things that you want, does not have value. Like when you get the value on that, things in your life will definitely change. But we get this, oh, I'm being silly. We don't, like, gosh, Linda, okay, let's even go. How many people do you know? I mean, we've done yoga, but when we were in Peru, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were laying there, and for a long time, folks, this wasn't just this was like I was sleeping like in about 2 minutes, but it was like, for a long, long time. But here's the thing, it was cold. It was cold. And at first, I really wasn't, like I am in my yoga class and it's nice and warm, or I'm outside. I was uncomfortable for a bit there. And so it took me some concentration to say, okay, take yourself away from this. Think of it, it's warm, you're feeling good, your blood is pumping. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole scenario that I went through. But like I said, within 5 minutes, I was sound asleep. Mm-hmm. Dreaming away into, being comfortable and being content. And some people, though, throughout this, you're kind of like in that twilight, right? I'm not deep asleep, but through this, I can hear people twittering. They're laughing, and this is silly. And I thought, sad to you that you don't feel that you deserve this emotional connection with not only Mother Earth, but your internal dreams and the things that you could be getting from this. But I think we do that. We think we're silly. Oh, that's just that new age stuff, and that doesn't work, and you don't even give it a good go. But that is how. I'm telling you, people, this is how you design your life. If you keep getting up every morning and going willy-nilly throughout your day, and for the most part being unsatisfied at the end of the day, then, I would take the new age stuff and I'd crack that sucker open and I'd be drinking that right down.
Absolutely. And for those who think that this is silly, I would challenge you to think about, just pick three of the most successful people you know. Or maybe you don't know them, but they are successful. Like, I would challenge them to connect with Bob Proctor or someone who has really made it in their mind's eye, and they're living in the McMansion. I challenge you to make contact with that person and ask them if they carve out time to visualize their life and their business. And I can guarantee you they say yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
and
that's the way the most successful do it.
Yeah, and the other part of this, too, is when you start getting, through this and you start understanding it and things do come your way. And I do this every day of my life. It's like if it wasn't there, then I'd be getting a little bit scared. Everything in my life, I'm doing something, going along, and something will get in my way, trying to tear me away from where I want to go. And it could be a person, place, thing, whatever. It could be something's happening that is distracting me. And at that point, again, a lot of people would, you do the fall back position and you go, whoa, 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 maybe I'm trusting my intuition too much. Maybe this isn't happening, maybe this is I should stop now. I'm telling you, that's the time to put pedal to the metal and bust through that, because we talked about this the last 2 sessions. This is go time. And we see too many people that get a little bit of chitter chatter from somebody else or a little bit of niggling in the back of their neck going, and I'm not saying you're walking down a deep dark alley and you get this triple up your back. That's time to run too.
Move fast.
Yeah, very fast. But, we're going to be challenged. And it's just a check and balance. It's like, I look at it this way. And I think the simplest way I can put it, if you got some money and you didn't know how much you got, and you put that money down somewhere, and then every day you went and spent a bunch of money, but you didn't know how much that was going down by because you didn't know how much was there in the first place, how well would you be able to manage that money? Now, value that on your life. You're staking your life on not knowing how much was there in the first place and what you're spending. I mean, that is, to me, so sad. So sad.
Mhm. It is, Mark. And, just twist that into the analogy of living your life. I mean, we can either live by default or we can create the life that we choose to live.
Yeah.
And either way, it's up to us.
Yeah, and you're playing offense. Defense, I mean, you're always going to have that talent, because there are going to be times where you're going to have to defend the life that you have created, because other people, a lot of things will happen. People will be jealous of you. You might lose some friends because you're moving ahead of them. They might want to pull you back into that world. And, and it always comes down to, in any case, for me, is what's my truth? What's my truth? I'm not here on earth to live a life that's ordinary. I know that. I mean, that the experiences that I've been given have taught me that I can beat anything. I can do anything. And there's absolutely nothing that stops me. And if I have something in my life, I've designed it to be there. And that includes the work that I do, the people I have in my life, and what I eat for dinner.
Mhm. Exactly. And then, when we start designing our life and accepting 100% responsibility for whatever comes along instead of playing the blame game, we've talked about that, but 100% responsibility for the good and the bad, then we are truly going to be living that life that we're designing for ourselves.
Yeah, and it's the pleasure, the absolute pleasure of being able to get up and say to yourself, today is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Today is unlimited potential, unlimited possibilities. I can't wait to jump into this day. The absolute freedom that you have. I mean, I know a lot of people think that having a lot of money is freedom. It may or may not be. For some people it's a burden. The absolute freedom of my life is that every day that I get up, I know that day is mine. And nobody from anywhere can take it away from me. To me, that's the ultimate freedom. And that I hold so dear to my heart that, and I deserve it. I bloody well deserve it.
Yes, ma'am. And you know what? We all deserve it. It's just not just Mark deserving or Linda deserving, but every single person on this planet deserves. And that's a key point that we all need to get through our heads.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, we started late here. I don't even know what time it was, so I think we'll have to jump off here, I think. But for my last words are this. Stop peeking into your life and wondering what might be there. I mean, that's the dream and the fantasy, but rip open those curtains and look right in there and go, it's all mine, and I deserve it. That's what I want you to take away from me tonight. Linda, as always, my friend, the last word is yours.
Well, thank you, Mark. And you know, I love ripping open the curtain and just raise up the window and just put yourself out there and yell at the top of your lungs. But no, I'd like for each person who's listening to just realize the enormous gift of your imagination. You know, it could really be considered your greatest power. And when it's used properly, in other words, for you instead of against you, it is what I would consider the number one tool in your tool belt for living the life of your greatest desire. So become aware of how you're using your precious, precious imagination and use it wisely. Take command of that day. It is yours. It's all yours.
It absolutely is. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of our listeners once again for joining this conversation. We certainly do appreciate you. But, you know, Linda and I always said we'd sit here and talk to ourselves anyways because you just joined our conversation. And these are the conversations we always have. So from Mark up here in Canada, good night, everyone.
And from Linda down here in Florida, good night.